My name is Hart for those of you that are new, and today I'll be breaking down this 9-game NBA slate here on DraftKings for Wednesday night, kind of doing a game-by-game breakdown, talking through my favorite plays, who I like, who I don't like, all the good stuff in this video. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get right into it. So, excuse me. Quick recap of tonight. Obviously, tonight is still ongoing. Hopefully, I can get this up pretty early for you guys here. That's going to be the goal, is to start getting these videos up pretty early in the night, just so I have time to upload them. Sometimes they take forever to upload with just bad internet connection, and then we can kind of break down more tomorrow on my Twitter. So, yeah, this is the through halftime of the first two games. Right now, we have Luca, who is obviously, I thought he'd come in at higher ownership with no Kyrie. They're kind of missing a few other people. Nothing too crazy, but still, Luka's doing very solid. Surprisingly, Tim Hardaway Jr., no one wanted to click on him. Not really sure why. There's no Kyrie. I mean, they're going to need a secondary scorer. It's going to be Tim Hardaway Jr. behind Luka. So he's doing great. Christian Brown's doing really, really solid for me. Grant Williams is doing pretty solid as well. Anthony Davis is doing good. Just kind of hope he gets some rebounds and blocks there. Goes for a double-double. He should smash if he does that. Io, I had Jordan Goodwin there, and I wanted to get a little bit more contrarian. Went with Io because obviously coming off that Tony Snell game last game, thought he'd do better tonight. He is a little bit, obviously he scored some points finally, but still, I think he's like 0 of 2, nothing too crazy there offensively. So hopefully he gets something there in the second half. Rui, just huge foul trouble right now. He's got 3 fouls. Otherwise, he's doing pretty solid. And then Trey Lyles to close it out. So hopefully this lineup does pretty solid. I think I was top 11. Right now I'm top 16, so we'll see how it ends up tonight. But moving on to this 9-game slate here tomorrow, let's start off with the Pelicans versus Washington. On the Pelican side here, obviously the news right now is Zion. Is he going to play? Is he not? If he doesn't play, obviously we're going to want to get to at least one of the main guys of, Brandon Ingram or CJ McCollum. J-Val would be a fine, play as well. Obviously we get a smash spot here against Washington, so would have a good amount of interest in one of the two main guys. You can even go with both because it's a fantastic spot. Now, if all three of them are in play, like if Zion's good to go, I wouldn't mind getting to one of them just because of a fantastic spot that they're in here going against Washington. So good amount of interest in the main kind of three guys there for the Pelicans. J-Val, if the minutes are there, he should absolutely be able to smash here. So a lot of interest in the kind of the starting five here for the Pelicans side here. Herb Jones, if you land on him, fine, but I'd rather get to one of the main guys. Trey Murphy off the bench, he should play mid-20s minutes. He's a decent point per minute guy. Don't mind if you land on him if you want another piece. That's really it. Alvarado, I guess it could be a fine value play there. It's 3.8K, but nothing too crazy there. Najee Marshall will get some run as well if you want to land on him as a more contrarian value piece. But yeah, good amount of interest in the Pelicans right now because of this matchup against the Wizards. You really want to take advantage of that, guys. So I highly suggest getting at least one guy. Obviously, if Zion's out, could possibly get to 2 or 3. On the Washington side here, it's just one of those things. If the game's going to stay close, it's mostly going to be because of Kyle Kuzma. Pretty much been keeping him in the games when they do somehow keep it close. So he looks really solid if you want to bring back Peace. Poole is going to be more so that GPP contrarian piece. He's been absolutely god-awful. Absolutely scammed the Wizards out of a contract there. But yeah, I mean, he has upside. We know it. It's just one of those things, barely flashed it this season. So I don't mind him as a kind of like a low-owned contrarian GPP play. Denny, he's a fine mid-range play. He's been a little bit more consistent than Poole. He's not going to go crazy offensively, but he can stuff the stat sheet. Gafford is questionable. If he's out, now they did start Muscala there, who obviously had massive foul trouble against Embiid. Played 20 minutes, had 3 fouls, I think, in the first quarter. But he'd still be a solid value play. Otherwise, Trey Jones, I think he's a fine play, 5.4K. It's just minutes, right? Obviously, there's some blowouts, but he's barely seen about 30 minutes when it is a close game. And that kind of makes it tough. Obviously, he does have a ceiling at times. It's just, it's very, very random with Trey Jones there. Excuse me, Tyus, not Trey, Tyus. Bilal Coulibaly, how you want to spell it. If you think this game blows out, he should get solid run either or, but he just obviously be more aggressive offensively if this game does blow out. He's fine if you land on him. I mean, that's really it's not a ton of interest here for the Washington side. Philadelphia versus Detroit, obviously a fantastic matchup here for Philadelphia. We just saw what Embiid did to the Wizards yesterday. Went off for 61 in 30 minutes, 14 and 20. Just absolutely fantastic. So Embiid looks amazing if you want to spin up for him, if you think there's better value. Maxey, I still think he's a strong play. He's kind of cooled off a little bit in terms of like his massive, ceiling games. But still, very strong play, 9.1K. I do like Tobias Harris a good amount here at 6.7. Obviously, with Kelly Oubre back, it does lower his floor, but I think he's a strong play. Same thing with Kelly Oubre, who's starting. The minutes haven't been great recently. They should probably start to come back a little bit more, but yeah, I think they're both fine plays. Melton, I don't love the price tag. He's a fine play. Really just prefer getting to the two main guys at the top, and that's really it. Everyone else is kind of priced about right for me. Moving on to Detroit here, going to be super tough for them to keep this game close. Cade, Bogdan, I think are fine plays. If you think this game stay close, it's probably going to be because of both those guys. I do like the minutes on Asar Thompson. If this game does blow out, he should hopefully see, good minutes, but still, yeah, it's just Detroit is so bad. It's really hard to trust his minutes with these guys. Trust them to keep this game close. So they're all going to be more so contrarian options. If I had to get to one, it'd probably be one of the two guys at the top, and I just don't love the price tags for them. So right now, Detroit is more so a stay away from me. They're just very contrarian GPP plays. On to Atlanta here versus Toronto. Atlanta side, Trae Young, DeJounte, they both feel priced about right. Obviously, the offense is going to flow through both of them. So they both look like solid options if you want more so contrarian players on the slate. Bogdan's a little bit too pricey for me, coming off a 40-point game there. Super score independent, as you can see. The minutes have been up recently, so I mean that's good, but still 6.8K for a guy who's coming off the bench, more so a scorer. I don't love it. Capella is priced up. The minutes have been pretty solid. He's finally seen 30 a little bit here, so he looks okay. I don't love it. Sadiq Bey, I think is a strong play here. The minutes have been fantastic. Now he's not shooting the ball great. That last game, but he finally bounced back against Denver. 40 minutes, 6 of 11. So I think he's a strong play at 6.1. Does have a decent ceiling, can go for a double here and there. So just with the minutes right now, I really like his upside when he's seeing close to 40 minutes a game. Okongwu, he's a fine play if you think, Capella gets in foul trouble. Otherwise, he's more so of a contrarian play. And if Hunter is in, obviously that should probably lower the minutes a little bit on Bay. But Hunter would be more so a nice pivot play off of probably a chalky Bay for tomorrow. And they will dust off some Wesley Matthews, but nothing too crazy there. They're really just running a very tight rotation. Young, Murray, Bogdan, Capella, Bay, Okongwu, and then they're if Hunter's back, they'll give him minutes. Otherwise, they're kind of splitting up between like Matthews and some other random people, but nothing too crazy there. On the Toronto side here, a fantastic matchup. Really like Scotty Barnes. He was fantastic for me against Charlotte when no one played him. Not really sure why. Another fantastic matchup here against Atlanta. So I really like him. Pascal's a really like strong contrarian option. Dennis Schroeder, as we can see, he has that upside, that double upside. He's very up and down, but we get a good matchup here. A little bit of a revenge game for him. 6K comes in at a pretty solid price tag. Same thing with OG. Mints have been really solid if it's a close game. So I actually have a good amount of interest in these Toronto guys. They feel a little bit too cheap in this matchup against the Hawks. Total is just minutes, right? Like if you can see mid-20s, close to even 30 minutes, he should usually have a solid game there. But obviously he does have a floor at times. So I think he's a fine GPP play. Precious off the bench. See around 20 minutes. He's okay. Don't love the price tag with him. Gary Trent, super score independent. So even though he's 4,000, kind of tough to get to him. And that's really it. Not a lot of interest in the value. Moving on to Charlotte versus Miami here. For the Charlotte side, Terry Rozier. I mean, if this offense is going to go and they're going to keep it close, Rozier is going to be a big part of that. Should play 40 minutes. He should have around 15 shot attempts, if not more. And as you can see, he does have that double upside. Has gone for doubles in the past 2 games. So that's just the thing with Terry. Like if he hits a shot, he's going to go for probably 40, 45 plus. If he doesn't, he can easily go for like mid 20s, low 30s, and really screw with that price tag. But he's point guard, shooting guard eligible. I think he's a strong play. Bridges, the minutes have been really strong with him. I think he's a very strong play as well. I don't love the price tag, but the minutes are there, and he's very aggressive offensively. Gordon Hayward, same thing. If they're going to keep this game close, it's going to be because of these main 3 guys. So I do have interest in getting to at least one of them if you do want to get to this game. Mark Williams is questionable. Obviously, if he's out, which it says he's doubtful, Nick Richards should probably start. They just played Miami last game, as you can see. Only went for 15 fantasy points, 26 minutes. I expect him to do a little bit better this game. He should see mid-20s minutes, 5.1K. I still think he's a solid play there if you go back to him. Brandon Miller, more so if he can train and play down there. I mean, the minutes are strong, but he's kind of like the 4th, 5th option. So don't like getting into him. PJ Washington, I think is a strong play off the bench. Should be aggressive. The minutes are there. So I like him. And that's really it here for the Charlotte Hornets side. Moving on to Miami here, obviously a fantastic matchup. Jimmy went for 43 last game. Once again, I think he's a very strong contrarian spin up option. Caleb Martin's been absolutely balling. As you can see, the minutes have been very, very strong. He's been shooting the ball well. So he's kind of like back to that playoff Caleb Martin. So if you want to ride the hot streak here, he gets a fantastic matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. So I do have a good amount of interest in him. So I'll kind of throw him in my interest pool as of right now. Duncan Robinson, kind of the same thing. He can have those huge games there if he hits a shot. So we saw it, a little bit ago where he had that stretch. We went for 42, 41, 32, 32, 30. So, I mean, he's very productive at 6K, which has been surprising this season. So I think he's a very strong play as well. And same thing with Kyle Lowry. Like the minutes have been great the past two games, 32, 35. Obviously hasn't been that super aggressive, but if he hits his shots, plays 35 minutes. I mean, Kyle Lowry, 5.8K is a little bit too cheap. Jaime off the bench, or if he starts, I think he's a fine play. I'd rather get to the other guys. They did start Orlando. He only played 22 minutes, but he's a solid point per minute guy, so I don't mind if you land on him. And Kevin Love actually was pretty solid. Minutes have been good recently. As you can see, he's a very productive guy if he hits his shots. 5.2K. Probably my favorite play out of the bigs there to take a shot on. Moving on to the Lakers versus the Spurs. Lakers are playing tonight right now. Anthony Davis, I don't know what happened to his lower back, ankle, or something before halftime. I think he should be good to go for that second half, though. But fantastic matchup here against the Spurs. AD and LeBron look like two of the best spin-ups. D'Lo, don't love the price tag. He's a fine mid-range play. I'd rather get to Reeves off the bench, who's been very, very good recently. And that's really it. No, not much interest in anyone else here. They're all priced up. Obviously, if someone gets ruled out like LeBron or AD, we're going to want to get to a few pieces, but we can wait for Twitter for that, for updates. On the Spurs side here, I do have a good amount of interest in Zach Collins here, 6K. The minutes weren't great that last game against Houston. Hasn't been starting recently. Didn't start versus the Bulls, but he was super productive off the bench there. So we'll kind of have to see what happens here. If he gets back into the starting lineup, trying to guard AD, they're going to need his size, helping out Victor. So if he starts, obviously really like him at that price tag. If he comes off the bench, there is a little bit risk that he doesn't play full minutes. But the offense should run through Vassell and Keldon Johnson here, who are kind of just contrarian plays there. Like you don't feel great landing on them, but they'll be super low owned, and they do come in at decent price tags. Sohan we've seen has upside, but it's just super hard to trust him. He's just not a point guard. I don't know why they continue to try to do that. And that's really it. Seti could be an okay value. Don't love it. Really just would stick to Johnson, Vassell, and Collins. And if you want to get weird, go to Victor. But I don't love the matchup for him going against AD. Moving on to Indiana here versus Milwaukee. This is a game I do really want to target. It could be an absolutely sneaky shootout. Indiana, one of the best offenses in the league. They play no defense. And Milwaukee, same thing. They just don't play defense. So Halliburton looks very, very strong here, 11.1K. Coming off of a lackluster game there in terms of like his points, only 14. Before that, it was a while, about a month since he, last had under 20, basically. So he's a very strong play. Miles Turner, always a very strong contrarian option there at that price tag. Buddy Hield, I don't love the price tag. He hasn't been great, but I mean, he should see the minutes. If he hits his shots, he can easily go for obviously 30 plus. So 6.3, I think he's one of those, fair priced GPP options if you do want to get to a very sneaky shootout game. Bruce Brown, Bennett Mathurin's coming off like a career game there, went for 55 bomb, 5.5K. I mean, that's the upside he has, but as you can see, he has a very low floor, and it's the minutes, right? Like, you really can't predict the minutes from Mathurin, Toppin, Naismith off the bench. They're just all, whoever does the best is going to get the minutes. Whoever does the worst, they're going to sub out. And it's just very, very random. Don't like getting into any of the wings there just because it's a very, very annoying crapshoot. TJ McConnell off the bench minutes have been there because Nembhard's been out. So if you want to land on him, I don't mind it. He's probably my favorite play besides one of the main three guys is going to be TJ McConnell. And then, Smith is still out. So you could take a shot on Jackson. 4.1K. Obviously, if there's foul trouble for Turner or Toppin, they will go to Jackson, who very, very foul prone, but he's a very, very solid point per minute guy. So I will mention him once again there at that price tag. Moving on to Milwaukee, obviously a fantastic matchup. Really, really like Giannis. Really, really like Dame. Dame's kind of been struggling recently with the shots. 3 of 17, 7 of 20, 8 of 13 was really good. Obviously, 10 of 16 good, but then 7 of 16, 9 of 18, 7 of 21. So past like 7 games, like 5 out of the 7, he's actually been pretty bad shooting the ball. Hasn't had like a huge upside, kind of been capped around 45, 47. But still, fantastic matchup here for Dame and Giannis. Middleton, minutes are starting to get into the 30s. So I really like him here at 6.5K. Now that they've seen more than 30 minutes. I'll throw him in the interesting player pool. Brook Lopez, kind of like a Miles Turner play. Like the minutes have been strong recently with him, but it's the shot attempts. They've been up recently, but I expect that to go down with Middleton kind of back. It's going to be Giannis, Dame, and Middleton as a kind of the main three, and then Brook Lopez will kind of get the scraps in terms of offense. Can obviously have those random pop games, obviously with the blocks as well, but he's a fine play. Malik Beasley, he's okay play there. Minutes have been good. He's been good at shooting the three, but that's about it. Bobby Portis, he just hasn't been the same Bobby Portis as he was last season. So I think it's just a fine GPP option. And off the bench, it'll be Bobby. There'll be some Beauchamp, but nothing too crazy here. Not much to like in terms of value. Campaign's probably the best play. They have been playing some AJ Green, but very hard to trust that. It's really just sticking the main guys. Moving on to the last three games here, Memphis versus Houston. Memphis, Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. both look like strong plays. Obviously, I prefer getting to Triple J just because that price tag difference, 8K. I think that's a strong price for him. No Smart, no Kennard still. Santi, I think it's a fine play. Biombo's there. Tillman's there. They're kind of splitting center minutes. Right now, they're going with Biombo, but I don't love it. They have both of them. They have Santi. They have Triple J, whose minutes have been strong recently. So it's hard to trust kind of these value guys for the Memphis side. D Rose, not playing a ton of minutes, as you can see here. Same thing with like Noel. Like the minutes are very up and down. So it's very hard to trust this value here for the Memphis Grizzlies side. Like Roddy's probably the safest in terms of like the minutes, but otherwise like the production, it's just coming from everyone. Like they're just dusting off so many different people. Contrar's minutes have been in the 20s the past few games recently, so you could take a shot at him as value. Gilead's kind of fallen out of the rotation, so I wouldn't look to him. And then Williams has been getting a good amount of run recently. Obviously, there's been some blowouts, which has kind of helped, but yeah, they're kind of running a lot of different rotations. Feel the safest, obviously, with the two main guys there. Santi's a fine mid-range play. And then the value is just kind of a headache. Moving on to Houston here. Sengun coming off of pretty bad game there. 6-12, only 35, which is not terrible, but still for a guy who's 9K, you don't want that. But yeah, he's a strong play. Fred, fine play there. The minutes have been fantastic. It's just his upside's compounded and kept. Don't love the price for Jalen Green. Jabari Smith, just shot attempts, right? Like they're just not the best. Dylan Brooks, you never want to play Dylan Brooks. Tari Eason, as you can see, has those games where he can pop off if he gets the minutes, but the minutes are the question, right? Like 4.7K for a guy who could see around 15 minutes. Don't love that. That's really it. Jeff Green could be a value play if you're really looking for it, but otherwise, not a lot to like here in terms of value, in terms of guys. Everyone's kind of priced up for me. Knicks versus Utah here for the Knicks side. Really like Randall here. There's a lot on the Utah side that, potentially could, allow Randall to absolutely go off. So really like him. Really like Brunson. I think Barrett is an interesting GPP option. Hart, there was no Mitchell Robinson, so they did start Sims last game. But they could definitely go small with Barrett at 5 because, Sims and Hartenstein are both very foul prone. So Hartenstein's at 5K. I think he's an okay play. I don't think he's a must play now that he's 5K because they could go small. He's a foul prone guy. So I think he's a solid play, but not a must play. Hart, one of those guys, if they do go small, he will get inserted into the lineup. 5K, I think is a strong play for him. And then DiVincenzo has been starting, but hasn't been doing well. So I'd rather get to Hart. And that's where it's, if Sim starts again, you can definitely get to him. Played 21 minutes, didn't really score, not a scorer, kind of more of a block and rebound guy, but he's definitely there if you're looking for value. But yeah, really good amount of interest in kind of the main three guys here for the Knicks, as well as Josh Hart. Utah side, as you can see, Laurie's questionable. He's been upgraded a little bit, so 2 questionables. He was doubtful at first. So we'll see if he plays. If he does, I'd really like him as a contrarian spin-up option. There's no minutes limit because there's no Jordan Clarkson. So offensively, people are going to need to step up. Collins missed last game. If he's back, fine play. Don't love him. Kessler, if he's back, I think it's an okay play. But offensively, like who's going to step up, right? Like Kelly Olynyk absolutely failed last game. 1 of 5, 21 minutes. Terrible. Sexton played 26 minutes. He's probably going to be the main scorer off the bench there. So he probably had the most interest for me. But we really got to see, kind of wait and see what's going to happen to the starting lineup. Hopefully we get the news before lock. Moving on to the last game here, Brooklyn versus Phoenix. Brooklyn side, the main 4 guys, are kind of what interests me. Cam Johnson, kind of an okay GPP option. Obviously, revenge game here for him and Bridges, so maybe a little bit extra motivation. They're going to want to give it to the Suns for trading them. So I do like them a little bit. Cam Thomas, I like him. I mean, the shot attempts, right? 19 and 21, 23, 21. So just shooting the ball a ton there. Very score independent, but obviously if he hits the shots, he's going to go off. That's really it for the Brooklyn side. Moving on to Phoenix side, Durant is out tonight, so we'll see if he plays tomorrow. If he does, that could be the first game back where they have all three main guys, and if that's the case, I wouldn't love the price tag on any of them just because with those three guys there, Beal did say he would take the backseat to Booker and Durant, but still, it's hard to trust them at their price tags with just three main studs. I'd probably feel the safest with Durant, but it's kind of more wait and see approach. I just think there's better plays. They become more so contrarian plays. Like I'd rather get to like 80. Let's just look at everyone else. Yeah, I'd rather pay up for Embiid, Giannis, Halliburton, or pay down for like AD, LeBron, Dame, Maxi. Like I just think there's better options than go to Phoenix for tomorrow if Durant plays. Now, if Durant's out, obviously Booker and Beal would be really, really good. Christian Allen is not playing tonight. Doubtful for tomorrow, so we could take a look at one of the guards, like a good win. Don't love the price for Beal or Eric Gordon, almost 7K for a guy who's pretty scoring dependent. Or we could get to one of the wings, depending on if Little's out as well. Could get to like a Batesy up or Okogie. So definitely a good amount of news we do have to wait for. But hope you guys liked the video. Hit that like button and subscribe. And I will have updates on my Twitter down below and for my Patreon members on my Patreon. Peace.